This is the distillery that got me into whiskey. So, for my second review, it felt like the perfect place to come back to. G'day fellow whiskey lovers, and welcome back to the Whisky Warrant. For those new to the channel, we don't skim the surface, we dive deep into Australian whiskey. And I'm not here to criticise, I'm here to understand what's in the glass. Today we're looking at Sullivans Cove American Oak Second Filled TD0062. If it wasn't for Sullivans Cove, there's a good chance I wouldn't have fallen down the whiskey rabbit hole. And the Whisky Warrant probably wouldn't even exist. So this review feels a little special. But before we get into the tasting, let's take a closer look at the distillery. In 1994, Sullivans Cove became the second whiskey distillery to be established in Australia. Since then, they've built a reputation that extends well beyond our shores, being the only Australian distillery to win World Best Single Malt. And they've also been awarded World Best Single Cask Single Malt 3 times. One thing I've always admired is their philosophy. The whiskey comes good when the whiskey comes good. They don't bottle to meet a deadline. Every cask is allowed to mature until it's ready. I think that's a pretty refreshing way to make whiskey. Now, let's take a look at what's in the bottle. TD0062 is an American Oak Second Fill Single Malt Single Cask Whiskey from Sullivans Cove Distillery in Cambridge, Tasmania. It spent 15 years and 5 months maturing in a second fill American Oak cask before being bottled at 47.5 ABV. Because it's a single cask, every bottle comes from this one individual barrel, meaning that no 2 casks will ever be the same. This particular release came out in 2021, with just 462 bottles produced from cask TD0062, with an original retail price of around $400. One thing I'm really interested to see today is how that second fill cask has shaped the whiskey. On paper, it sounds impressive. Now let's see if the whiskey tells the same story. Before we get into the nose, let's take a look at it. The colour is rich burnt amber, and the legs are semi-slow, giving it a nice oily appearance. It's always dangerous judging a whiskey before you've tasted it, but I have to admit, this one looks pretty inviting. Now let's get into the nose. The first thing that jumps out to me is rich vanilla. Then there's a deeper seasoned oak that starts to appear. But the note that really surprises me is the maraschino cherries. I wasn't expecting it, but it makes you want to go back for another smell. The longer it sits in the glass, the more everything seems to come together. Taking the first sip, it's bold, but not overpowering. The oak arrives first, followed by sweet currants and spicy dried fruit. Then the whiskey starts to soften. Vanilla and caramel work their way through and bring this lovely creamy sweetness that balances everything out. One thing I'm really enjoying is that nothing feels like it's competing for attention. Everything just seems to work together. The finish is medium to long. The oak hangs around while the sweeter notes slowly drift away, and you're left with a gentle spice, a little vanilla, and a warmth that makes you just want another sip. The more time I spend with this whiskey, the more I understand why Sullivans Cove has the reputation it has. One thing I'm starting to appreciate is how a second fill cask can shape a whiskey without taking it over. The cask supports the spirit, instead of trying to steal the show. For someone who's still learning, that's been a really interesting lesson. And after spending a little time with it, this sits patrol worthy. For me, patrol worthy is a whisky I'd happily recommend to someone looking to explore a premium Australian single malt. It's balanced, beautifully made, and every time I came back to the glass, I found something new to appreciate. I don't think you need to be an expert to enjoy this whisky. You just need to give it the time it deserves. If Sullivans Cove was the whisky that started my journey, I'm glad it still reminds me of why I enjoy experiencing whisky in the first place. So, now I'd love to hear from you. What's the bottle or the distillery that got you into whisky? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, pour yourself a dram worth appreciating and take the time to dive a little deeper into what's in the glass. Because every bottle has a story, and I'm looking forward to discovering the next one with you. Cheers.